Welcome, my friends, to a new episode of TOEFL ITP Insider. And in this episode, we're going to talk about noun clause connectors. Right, now, what are noun clause connectors? And why do we call them noun clause? Because we know from previous episodes that a clause is made of a subject and a verb. So what is meant by a noun clause? Well, when I say a noun clause, it means that this clause plays the function of a noun. Now, someone might ask, but Shadi, what is the function of a noun? And I'd say a noun functions as a subject. Like when you say, my dad goes to work. Now, dad is a noun, and here it is the subject of the sentence. And also, nouns function as objects, like when you say, I met my dad. So, dad here is an object for the verb met. So, that's another function of nouns. And also, nouns act as objects of prepositions. Think about this one. I'm worried about my dad. Now, my dad here is a noun functioning as an object of the preposition about. Now let's see some example of noun clauses and let's see how they act like nouns. Let's go. And here is example number 1. I know what he's doing now. So when we think about it, I is a subject, know is a verb. Now subject verb, what we expect after know that we need an object. Now the object is what he is doing now. Oh my God. So all this is an object. When we analyze this object, we call it a noun clause. And inside this noun clause, we have 3 main items. Number 1, we have the noun clause connector, which is what in this scenario. And we have the subject, which is he. And we have is doing, which is the verb. So this is now a noun clause acting as an object. But let's look at this second example. What he is doing now is known. Now, what he is doing now is a noun clause acting as a subject. And the verb for this subject is. But when we look inside this noun clause, we see the same thing. We see what as a noun clause connector. We see he as a subject, is doing as a verb. Now let's look at the third example. I'm worried about what he is doing now. I'm worried about what he's doing now. Now about is a preposition, and we expect that this preposition would be followed by an object of the preposition, which is normally a noun. But this time we don't have a noun, we have a noun clause. Why we call it noun clause is because it is acting as a noun. And inside it, the same thing. Noun clause connector, what, he, subject, is doing, verb. Right. So, noun clauses are clauses that act like nouns. And when we say that they act like nouns, they can be subjects, they can be objects, they can be objects of prepositions. Now let's see how this structure is tested in the TOEFL ITP exam. Let's see. And let's go to this multiple choice question here. And it reads as follows. Have done to honor the memory of Aaron demonstrates the strength and compassion of your incredible family. Now, when we analyze this, what do we notice? We notice that have done is a verb. Okay. But we notice that there is another verb which is demonstrates. And this verb is followed by an object. Now, we cannot have 2 verbs in English language without a connector. So rule number 1, we need to look for a connector. Now, a We have only you, that's the subject. We don't have a connector. In B and C, we've got a couple of connectors. But in C, we've got only a connector, no subject. So when we say what have done, no, that doesn't work. Because as we know in a noun clause, we need a noun clause connector, subject and verb. We only have a verb now, which is have done. So the best answer is what you have done to honor the memory of Aaron demonstrates the strength and compassion of your incredible family. So the answer is what you have done. So what you have done to honor the memory of Aaron, this is a noun clause and it is acting as a subject. And the verb for this subject is demonstrates. Nice. Now, let's look at some statements, sentences, and analyze them to see whether they are accurate or not according to the structure of noun clauses. And what we have, my friends, let's read this one together. Who should vote for depends on where you live. And let's analyze it to see whether this is right or wrong. What do we have here? We have who should vote for. And then we have depends. Depends, that looks like the main verb here. And funny enough, depends on is followed by a noun clause where you live. But when you think about this noun clause where you live, it looks fine. Why? Because we have where, that's a noun clause connector. Then we have you, subject, live, verb. So that's fine then. And we've got depends, that's the main verb. Now we need to think about the first noun clause working as a subject. Now, who is the noun clause connector? Should vote is the verb, but wait a minute. We have a subject missing. So that's an incorrect sentence. And the correct one is, who you should vote for depends on where you live. Who you should vote for depends on where you live. Now let's check another sentence. Let's check it. And it says, the counselor helped her channel her feelings into a powerful essay about she loves movies from the 1980s. Now, the counselor, that's the subject. Helped, that's the verb. And we've got channel her feelings into a powerful essay. Fine, everything's correct till now. And then we come to about. Now, what do we expect after about? We expect a noun acting as an object of the preposition about. But wait a minute, we don't have a noun, we have a clause. How do I know it is a clause? Because I have a subject and verb. She loves. Obviously, this is not a noun. Which means that there is something wrong. Why? Because we cannot have a noun clause without a noun clause connector. So something is missing after about. And actually the correct sentence is, the counselor helped her channel her feelings into a powerful essay about why she loves movies from the 1980s. Now let's come to the last sentence and let's check together whether it's correct or not. And it says, I still don't know how you to persuade him to go back to 3rd District. Now let's analyze it. I is a subject, don't know, that is a verb. Well, fine. How you, now how and you, that looks like a beginning of a noun clause. How is the noun clause connector? You is obviously the subject. Good. Can we say that to persuade is the verb? No. Because when the verb is preceded by to, then this is not a main verb. So we're missing a main verb here. Now the original statement, the original sentence is, I still don't know how you managed to persuade him to go back to 3rd District. So my friends, if we are looking for the structure of noun clause connectors, then this is what we need to know. Noun clause connectors can be subjects of the sentence. And in that scenario, we're looking at a noun clause connector, subject, verb, and then verb. Because we need a main verb here, right? And if it is used then as an object, then we're looking for subject, verb, and then a noun clause. And inside this noun clause, we have three things. Noun clause connector, subject and verb. And if we're looking at a noun clause acting as an object of a preposition, then we're looking for a preposition followed by a noun clause connector, subject and verb. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for watching this episode from TOEFL ITP Insider. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like and leave a comment. Bye bye. See you.